Well, hello all. So we're continuing our discussion in Chapter 2, talking about helpful dietary guidelines. So in past centuries, most morbidity and mortality in industrialized nations were caused by nutrient deficiency diseases and infectious diseases. But advances in nutritional and medical science have almost eliminated most of the adverse health consequences associated with these diseases. Today, most morbidity and mortality are associated with chronic diseases such as coronary heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis, and obesity. And most dietary guidelines for healthful nutrition are targeted to prevent these chronic diseases. Nutrition scientists are using both epidemiological and experimental research in attempts to determine what types of diet-specific foods and specific nutrients or food constituents may either cause or prevent the development of chronic diseases. Such research, coupled with the application of nutrigenomics, may provide us each of us with individual diets for optimal health. So what is the basis underlying the development of healthful dietary guidelines? In general, healthful dietary guidelines are based on appropriate research. Over the years, epidemiologists have attempted to determine the relationship between diet and the development of chronic diseases. In early research, the focus was simply on the overall diet and its relationship to disease, such as comparing the typical American diet to the Mediterranean from Greece or Italy or Spain, or the Japanese diet. If a significant relationship was found between the diets of two nations, for example, more heart disease among Americans compared to those consuming the Mediterranean diet, scientists then attempted to determine what specific foods, particularly which macronutrients, carbohydrate, fat, and protein in those foods, may have been related to either an increased or decreased risk for heart disease. In more recent years, scientists have been investigating the roles of specific nutrients or food constituents and their potential to prevent or deter chronic diseases. What are the recommended dietary guidelines for reducing the risk of chronic disease? In Chapter 1, we introduced the concept of the prudent healthy diet, a dozen guidelines to healthier eating. These prudent dietary recommendations represent a synthesis of various recent reports from governmental, educational, and professional health organizations, including the following: the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the American Cancer Society, the American Diabetes Association, and on. These recommendations are also in accord with Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2015. The guidelines are not considered to be static and may be modified somewhat as we gain more knowledge through research. In particular, healthful dietary recommendations may be individualized in the future when the full impact of nutrigenomics is realized. Taken together, these recommendations may be helpful in preventing most chronic diseases, including cardiovascular diseases and cancer. The rationale as to how these dozen helpful dietary recommendations may promote good health is presented in later chapters where appropriate. These guidelines do, however, come with several caveats. Remember, diet is only one factor that may influence the development of chronic diseases. As noted by the American Heart Association Nutrition Committee, other positive lifestyle behaviors such as exercise and avoiding tobacco use are also important. Most dietary guidelines have been developed for Americans over age 2, but some organizations, such as the American Heart Association, have developed separate dietary guidelines for children. Children and adolescents need energy to support growth and development, so it is important that adequate calories be provided if dietary fat is restricted. Several of the guidelines presented in this section have special implications for children. Healthy diets today have an increased focus on whole foods rather than specific nutrients such as carbohydrate, fat, and protein. Although we need nutrients, we eat food. Many of the diets designed to promote health are food-based. The foods in healthy diets contain specific nutrients we need, but also contain numerous phytonutrients. And evidence suggests that the combined effect of nutrients and phytonutrients in the overall diet may be responsible for its beneficial health effects. Consumer Reports highlights 5 diet plans that could be used to promote health, including the Mediterranean, DASH diets, both of which are recommended in the U.S. Dietary Guidelines. The healthy prudent diet is one that you balance the food you eat with physical activity to maintain or achieve healthy body weight. Consume only moderate food portions. Be physically active every day. Preventing obesity helps to reduce the risk of numerous chronic diseases such as heart disease and cancer. To avoid becoming overweight, you should consume only as many calories as you expend daily. Relative to diet, an appropriate phase is don't eat more of anything without eating less of something else. Methods of regulating your body weight are presented in detail in Chapter 11. An appropriate exercise program and adherence to the concept of nutrient density, which includes a number of the following recommendations, could serve as the basis for a sound weight control program. Ideally, you should eat a nutritionally adequate diet consisting of a wide variety of nutrient-rich foods. Build a healthy base. Eating a wide variety of natural foods from within and among the MyPlate food groups or the food exchange lists will assure you of obtaining a balanced and adequate intake of all essential nutrients. Stress foods that are nutrient dense, particularly those that are rich in the key nutrients. However, keep the concept of variety in perspective. Research has shown that the more food choices we have, the more likely we are to eat more. Our supermarket society, with more than 50,000 food products in the typical store, provides us with so many choices. That it is very easy to overeat and become overweight. Thus, also consuming a wide variety of foods is a good strategy to get the nutrients we need. We must keep in mind the first point to maintain or achieve a healthy body weight. MyPlate provides guidance for healthy food selection at the supermarket, even on a budget. Simply type grocery in the search box on its website. Each year, various health professional groups have created lists of so-called superfoods based on various criteria, primarily nutrient-dense foods with potential health benefits. The lists vary somewhat, but the following have been listed as superfoods in recent years. Fruits such as guava, watermelon, and kiwi. Vegetables such as kale, spinach, collard greens, and asparagus. My favorite. Just kidding. Leanest meat such as turkey breast, which I love. Make sure that you have no skin on that. And then chicken breasts. And then beans such as soybeans or pinto beans or even chickpeas. Nice thing about chickpeas is you can make hummus. And then nuts, walnuts, almonds, pecans, and then seafood, wild salmon, Alaskan wild salmon, and Pacific sardines. Ugh, not my favorite. And so on. So, ideally, you should choose a plant-rich diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grain products and legumes, foods that are rich in complex carbohydrates, phytonutrients, and fiber. In general, healthy carbohydrates are the ones that nature makes and are found naturally in whole fruits, whole vegetables, and whole grains. About 45 to 65% or more of your daily calories should come from carbohydrates, about 35 to 55% from complex carbohydrates, and the other 10% or less from simple, naturally occurring carbohydrates. To accomplish this, you need to eat more whole grain breads, cereal, rice, and pasta, more legumes such as beans and peas, more fruits and vegetables, and fewer refined grain products such as white bread, rice, and pasta. Then you want to choose a diet moderate in total fat, but low in saturated and trans fats. There is no specific requirement for fat in the diet. However, a need exists for essential fatty acids such as linoleic or alpha-linoleic fatty acids and vitamins that are components of fat. Since almost all foods contain some fat, sufficient amounts of the essential fatty acids and related vitamins are found in the average diet. Even on a vegetarian diet of fruits, vegetables, legumes, and grain products, about 5 to 10% of the calories are derived from fat, thus supplying enough of these essential nutrients. In a recent position statement authored by Vanis and Rasmussen, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, within the context of the rapidly evolving science relative to dietary fats and human health, made some suggestions. In general, the Academy recommended the following, which is considered a prudent approach. 20 to 35% of your calories should come from fat. There should be an increased consumption of omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids. You want to make sure to limit intake of saturated fats as well as trans fats. The American Heart Association suggests limiting dietary saturated fat intake to about 5 to 6% of daily caloric intake. The following practical suggestions will help you meet the recommended dietary goal. So you want to choose plant oils or other healthy fats. In general, most dietary fats should come from sources of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids, such as fish, nuts, seeds, and vegetable oils, particularly olive and canola oils. I know there's been a big push with coconut oil, and we'll talk a little bit about it as we go as well. Eat less meat with a high fat content. Avoid hot dogs, luncheon meat, sausage, and bacon, so processed meat. Trim off excess fat before cooking. Eat only limited amounts of meat, mostly lean red meat, white meat, such as turkey and chicken, which have less fat. Remove the skin from poultry. Eat no more than 3 to 6 ounces of animal meat per day. Eat more fish. Many fish, such as sardines, salmon, tuna, and mackerel, are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. White fish, such as flounder, is very low in fat calories. However, as noted in Chapter 5, children and some women should limit intake of or avoid fish that may be polluted with mercury. You want to eat cholesterol-rich foods in moderation, such as eggs. Eckel and others in a recent joint American Heart Association and American College of Cardiology report indicated there is little evidence that lowering dietary cholesterol will reduce blood cholesterol. Previously, the American Heart Association recommended consuming 300 milligrams or less of cholesterol per day. Egg yolks are rich in cholesterol, containing about 220 to 250 milligrams. But research by Wrong and others indicated consuming 1 egg daily has no effect on the risk of heart disease and stroke, 2 diseases associated with high blood serum cholesterol. A recent study by Katz and others found that even in individuals with heart disease, consuming 2 eggs daily had no adverse effect on several cardiovascular risk factors. If you want to cut calories, egg whites have none of the fat of yolks and are excellent sources of high-quality protein. Eat fewer dairy products that are high in fat, so switching from whole fat to low fat or skim milk. Eat other dairy products made from skim or non-fat milk, such as yogurt and cottage cheese. Most cheeses, except low-fat cottage cheese, are high in fat and calories, but some fat-free cheeses are now available. Eat less butter, which is high in saturated fat, but substitute soft margarine made from liquid oils that are monounsaturated or polyunsaturated, such as corn oil. Eat butter and margarine sparingly. Some fat-free and other healthier margarines are also available. You want to limit your consumption of fast food. Although fast food chains generally serve grade A foods, many of their products are high in fat. Whataburger, just saying. The average fast food sandwich contains approximately 50% of its calories in fat. Appendix E lists a number of websites that provide a breakdown of the fat calories in products served by popular fast food restaurants. Some fast food restaurants do serve nutrient-dense foods. Wise choices such as baked fish, grilled chicken, skinless chicken, lean meat, baked potatoes, and salads can provide a healthy nutrition. But avoid high-fat sauces. For example, the mayonnaise serving on a Burger King tender grilled chicken sandwich, so you think you're eating healthy, adds 90 calories or about 10 grams of fat, which accounts for about 20% of the total calories of the sandwich. So, avoid foods that contain trans fats, considered by many health professionals to be the worst type of fat you can eat. Many food manufacturers have removed trans fats from their product, but some remain, particularly some canned and packaged foods. You can check the ingredient list on food labels to look for hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils, the source of trans fats. You want to choose beverages and foods to moderate your intake of added sugars and highly refined carbohydrates. In general, unhealthy carbohydrates include added sugars and highly refined white flour or rice found in such foods, or bread, cereal, pasta, crackers, and pastry. Sugar is somewhat addictive because it may stimulate the same pleasure centers of the brain that respond to drugs such as cocaine, and thus may be consumed in excess. In some aspects, refined carbohydrates may have effects comparable to sugar in human physiology. In an article entitled Sugar Love, a Not-So-Sweet Story, Cohen indicates that although the World Health Organization recommends consuming no more than 6 teaspoons of sugar per day, One report noted that the typical American eats and drinks over 22 teaspoons daily, including sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, and other sweeteners. On average, Americans get 16% of their total calories from added sugars. The major sources of added sugars in the diet, with the highest sources listed first, are soda, energy and sports drinks, grain-based desserts, sugar-sweetened fruit drinks, and dairy-based desserts, as well as candy. Excessive intake of added sugar is associated with high blood triglyceride levels and high blood pressure, risk factors for heart disease. Added sugars may also increase the caloric content of food without an increase in nutritional value, so they may contribute to weight gain with an increased risk of obesity and type 2 diabetes. Thus, moderation in sugar intake is recommended. As noted above, the World Health Organization, along with other health organizations, recommends an intake approximating 5% of daily caloric intake. For someone on a 2,000 calorie diet, that approximates about 6 teaspoons. To meet this goal, you should reduce your intake of common table sugar and products high in refined sugar, such as non-diet soft drinks, as noted, the largest source of added sugars in the American diet. Sugar is one of the most additives in processed foods, so check the labels. If sugar is listed first, it is the main ingredient. Also look for terms such as high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, fructose, malt sugar, and even fruit juice concentrate, which are also primarily refined sugars. Food labels list the total amount of sugar per serving. Use naturally occurring sugars to satisfy your sweet tooth. Most fruits have a high sugar content, but also contain vitamins, minerals, and fiber. You want to choose and prepare foods with less salt and sodium. Restrict sodium intake to less than 1,500 milligrams daily, which is the equivalent of about 3750 milligrams or 3.75 grams of table salt. This lower amount will provide sufficient sodium for normal physiological function. Sodium is found naturally in a wide variety of foods, so it is not difficult to get an adequate supply. Several key suggestions may help you reduce the sodium content in your diet. Get rid of your salt shaker. 1 teaspoon of salt is 2,000 milligrams of sodium. The average well-salted meal contains about 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams. Put less salt on your food, both in your cooking pot and on your table. Reduce the consumption of obviously high salt foods such as most pretzels and potato chips, pickles, and other snacks. For a healthy snack, eat some unsalted nuts such as almonds and walnuts. They are rich in protein and healthy fats. Check food labels for sodium content. Salt is a major additive in many processed foods, and food labels list the sodium content per serving. Eat most fresh fruits and vegetables, which are very low in sodium. Fruits, both fresh and bottled or canned, have less than 8 milligrams of sodium per serving. Fresh and frozen vegetables may have 35 milligrams or less, but if bottled or canned may contain up to 460 milligrams. Use fresh herbs, spices that do not contain sodium, or light salt as seasoning alternatives. The DASH, which are dietary approaches to stop hypertension diet, discussed in Chapter 9, is low sodium. You want to maintain protein intake at a moderate yet adequate level, obtaining much of your daily protein from plant sources, complemented with smaller amounts of fish, skinless poultry, and lean meats. The recommended dietary intake is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, which averages out to be about 50 to 60 grams per day for the average adult male, and somewhat less for the average adult female, or about 10% of daily calories, which is about 100 calories on a 2,000 calorie diet. The current recommendation of the National Academy of Sciences is to obtain 10 to 35% of daily calories from protein. Since the average daily American intake of protein is about 100 grams, we appear to be staying within the guidelines. A healthy breakfast is a good way to jumpstart on a daily protein intake. A bowl of high protein cereals such as Post Grape Nuts and a bowl of milk with a quarter cup of almonds on top along with an egg will provide about 30 grams of protein. Most of the protein Americans eat is found in the meat from various animals. Meat is an excellent source of complete protein, and compared to plant food, is a better source of dietary iron and other minerals such as zinc and copper. 3 to 6 ounces of lean meat, fish, or poultry together with 2 glasses of skim milk will provide the average individual with a daily RDA for protein, totaling about 40 to 60 grams of high-quality protein. Combining this animal protein with plant protein foods high in protein, such as whole grain products, soy protein, meat substitutes, beans and peas, and vegetables will substantially increase your protein intake and more than meet your needs. In particular, soy protein products such as tofu, tempeh, and miso, as well as commercial products such as soy burgers, are excellent meat substitutes because they are complete proteins. The possible health benefits of soy are highlighted in Chapter 6. For health promotion, the general recommendation is to eat less meat, particularly less red meat. Red meat may contain more fat, particularly saturated fat, and may contain other compounds that may interfere with cholesterol metabolism. Processed red meats may contain cancer-causing compounds, and as noted later in this chapter, cooking meats at high temperatures may produce carcinogenic compounds. In her recent review on reasons, medical experts advise us to eat less red meat. Liebman indicates high red meat intake is associated with various chronic diseases, including heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and colorectal cancer, all contributing to premature death. Most Americans enjoy eating meat. It is the centerpiece of most meals. However, for health reasons, it is recommended that we change our eating habits. Instead of red meat, we are advised to eat more seafood, such as tuna, salmon, and shrimp, as well as more white poultry milk, such as turkey and chicken breasts. If red meat must be a part of your diet, some suggestions are to consume small amounts only several times weekly, and to choose USDA extra lean cuts such as eye of round steak. When selecting ground beef, look for the lowest percentage of fat, such as 93% fat-free. Other healthier meat alternatives include buffalo, ostrich, and venison, which are very low in total and saturated fat, yet rich in protein and iron. Another helpful recommendation is to use meat as a condiment, such as by adding small amounts to help add flavor to stir-fried vegetable dishes. Using such strategies, you can, so to speak, have your meat and eat it too. You want to choose a diet adequate in calcium and iron. Adequate calcium and iron are particularly important for women and children. Skim or low-fat milk and other low-fat dairy products are excellent sources of calcium. For example, 1 glass of skim milk provides nearly 1/3 the RDA for calcium. Milk substitutes such as soy, almond, coconut, and rice milk may have similar or lower calories, and comparable amounts of calcium may contain much lower amounts of protein. Certain vegetables such as broccoli are also good sources of calcium. Iron is found in good supply in the meat and starch exchanges. Small amounts of lean or very lean meat should be selected, and whole grain or enriched products should be chosen over those made with bleached, unenriched white flour, and some foods rich in calcium and iron are listed in Table 2.9. You want to practice food safety, including proper food preservation and preparation. Although food safety is a key responsibility of food producers, government agencies, and food distributors, we, the consumers, also play a key role. Using recommended protocols during food preservation and preparation may help prevent food poisoning and decrease the formation of potential risk factors for chronic disease. To prevent food poisoning, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics recommends a 4-step protocol. Wash to keep bacteria at bay. Wash your hands, the surfaces, cutting boards, cooking utensils, dishes, and produce. Separate. So when shopping for and storing and preparing foods, prevent cross-contamination of harmful bacteria from juices of some foods, such as meat and chicken, to other ready-to-eat foods, such as fruit and vegetables. You want to cook using a food thermometer for cooking foods to the safe minimum temperatures to kill bacteria. Refrigerate foods quickly to a temperature of 40 degrees below Fahrenheit or below to slow the growth of bacteria that could cause food poisoning. Some methods of food preparation, such as excessive use of heating techniques like grilling, baking, and frying, may produce carcinogenic compounds. For more detailed information on this topic, as well as food safety in general, as presented later in this chapter, consider the benefits and risks of food additives and dietary supplements. More than 3,000 food additives are used in the United States. Additives are used by food manufacturers to enhance their products for a variety of reasons, such as color, texture, and nutrient density. The use of any additive in food must be tested for safety and approved by the Food and Drug Administration. Eating fresh, natural foods is one of the best approaches to avoiding additives. However, nutrients such as vitamins and minerals are often used as food additives to increase the nutritional quality of a food product, which may benefit some individuals. Food additives are covered in more detail later in this chapter. As noted in chapters 7 and 8, dietary supplements of most vitamins and minerals are not necessary for individuals consuming a balanced diet. If you adhere to the recommendations listed here, you are not likely to need any supplementation at all for the consumption of natural, whole, nutrient-dense food should guarantee adequate vitamin and mineral nutrition. If you feel a supplement is needed, the ingredients should not exceed 100% of the daily RDA for any vitamin or mineral. Many one-a-day vitamin mineral supplements do adhere to this standard. As noted later in this section on dietary supplements, many health professionals, such as the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, may recommend dietary supplements for certain segments of the population. For example, the American Heart Association recommends patients with high triglycerides, which are blood fats levels, or documented heart disease may be advised to consume omega-3 fatty acids. There's some controversy over that now as to whether that's still being recommended or not. They found that the benefits are not quite what they thought they were, which in some case may be obtained from some supplements. As shall be noted in Chapter 7, some health professionals believe it may be prudent for most individuals to take a daily multivitamin. Conversely, excess supplementation with some vitamins and minerals as well as other dietary supplements may elicit some serious adverse health effects. The possible health benefits of dietary supplements as well as possible adverse effects are discussed in later chapters where appropriate. If you drink alcoholic beverages, do so in moderation. The current available scientific evidence does not suggest that light to moderate daily alcohol consumption will cause any health problems to the healthy, non-pregnant adult. A drink is defined as 1 12-ounce bottle of beer or 1 4-ounce glass of wine, 1.5 ounces of 80 proof distilled spirits. Current guidelines for moderate alcohol intake recommend no more than 2 drinks per day for males and 1 for females. However, even small amounts may pose health problems to some individuals. Alcohol intake is associated with breast cancer. Castor and Castro note that although the suggested acceptable dose for prevention of breast cancer is 1 drink per day, women at risk may wish to abstain from alcohol consumption as it is one of the avoidable causes of breast cancer. Certainly, excessive alcohol consumption is one of the most serious health problems in our society today. Enjoy your food. Eat what you like, but balance it within your overall healthful diet. It is important to note that you can eat whatever you want with a prudent, healthy diet. There are no unhealthy foods, only unhealthy diets. The dietary advice regarding moderate intake of certain foods such as high-fat meats and ice cream does not mean that they have to be eliminated from the diet, only that their intake should be limited and balanced with other nutrient-dense foods in the total diet. Portion control is an important concept to limit caloric intake. It is balance, variety, and moderation in the overall diet that is important, not any single food. Fast foods can fit into a healthy diet. All fast food restaurants have healthy foods on their menu, but in a review of America's best and worst fast foods, Consumer Reports reported that if you want more healthful choices, the top 3 restaurants are Subway, Jason's Deli, and Panera. Others listed included Baja Fresh Mexican Grill, Au Bon Pain, and Chipotle Mexican Grill. However, many fast food restaurants continue to serve what Consumer Report calls foods to fear, including Monster Burgers with over 1,300 calories, more than half the daily caloric needs for many individuals. Appendix E provides a list of popular fast food restaurants with websites to obtain nutritional information on their products. In this context, it is important to note that although healthful eating may confer numerous health benefits, some may take it to the extreme that may become counterproductive. In his book, Health Food Junkies, Overcoming the Obsession with Healthful Eating, Bratman indicates that taking the quest for a healthful diet to excess can become a disease in its own right. Enjoy eating. It's one of life's pleasures. To make healthier foods such as chicken, fish, and vegetables taste better, season them with spices. Spices not only enhance the flavor of some foods, but also contain various phytonutrients that may have beneficial health effects. Some suggestions, we'll go over it in a little bit later. All right, guys, you have a great day today, and I'll be talking with you soon.